Hello everyone, welcome back to Nick's Flicks Fix. It's Nick here, and today I'm bringing you a very special video. It's the first video in a series I'm doing for the next probably 12 days. And that's a lot of videos, and I'm really excited to pump all these out for you guys. But as we all know, it's December. It's this very special time in December where there's a lot of magic in the air, a lot of people are very excited for, and I know what you're thinking, and I think you have some idea of what it could be. This is Nick's Flicks Fix. 12 days of Star Wars. Yes, we've got Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, coming out on December 17th here in Australia. I am so very friggin' excited for it, and it's 12 days away. So what I thought I'd do, instead of the 12 days of Christmas, because that's been done before, Partridge in a Pear Tree, all that crap has been done, I'm going to bring you 12 videos about Star Wars. I'm going to bring reviews of the original 6 films. I'm going to bring a video of what I think is going to happen in The Force Awakens. I'm going to review Star Wars Battlefront, the video game, my first video game review, and I feel like the audio is really bad when I have this on my head, so I'm going to take it off, and I'm going to get started today with the review of Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. That may or may not be part of my costume that I'm wearing at the midnight release of Star Wars The Force Awakens. Star Wars The Phantom Menace came out in 1999. I was only 4 years old then, so I was pretty young. I didn't understand really what Star Wars was. I remember watching Star Wars as a kid, and it had a big impact on my life. I loved Star Wars ever since my grandparents actually had it recorded off the TV on a VHS, and I used to watch the crap out of those tapes when I was a kid. And I absolutely loved Star Wars growing up. And I didn't see The Phantom Menace until I was probably about 8 or 9 years old. And from what I've read up and what I know, this was one of the biggest releases ever. The most successful trilogy of all time was finally getting another film and a prequel about a young Obi-Wan Kenobi. So people were losing their minds, and ultimately what it's like at the moment for Force Awakens. And then the outfall of that was possibly one of the most disappointing films of all time, I would imagine. The problem I have with Star Wars The Phantom Menace is that George Lucas has come out and said that he tried to mirror the original trilogy with the prequel trilogy. And you see the parallels there, but I don't think the execution was there just as much. Now, I watched this last night with a group of friends, and I didn't hate the film. It's definitely not great, and it's not my favorite in the Star Wars film, but there are some moments in it that I actually quite enjoyed. Let's start off with the normal, like I do with the normal reviews, start off with the acting. It's okay. We had Liam Neeson playing Qui-Gon Jinn, a Jedi Master, and Ewan McGregor playing a young Obi-Wan Kenobi as his Jedi apprentice. And their acting was fine. It wasn't anything that stands out compared to, say, Han Solo, Harrison Ford in the original trilogies, or Darth Vader or anything like that. You know, these really iconic performances, these really great performances. But they were fine. You know, I believed Qui-Gon Jinn. He had that sort of zen as a Jedi Master that I really believed on screen. Ewan McGregor, not so much. He does come into his own, though, in 2 and 3, which I'll bring reviews for later. The worst actor of the film, I found, was the Jake Lloyd, who played young Anakin Skywalker. Yeah, he's a kid, and I know I shouldn't be too harsh on kid actors, but... And I blame some of it on George Lucas and his directing as well, but his line delivery was really poor in a lot of the films, and it's quite laughable, some of the scenes. It's actually, the worst part is I had to giggle in a scene where he is going with Qui-Gon Jinn to learn to become a Jedi, and he's crying to his mum, and you can tell it's crocodile tears, and he's not feeling, you know, the real emotion. And I understand he's just a young kid at the time, but to put a kid in that situation with these big emotional scenes, and to have, he's ultimately playing a love interest to Natalie Portman, who's Queen Amidala. There are kid actors out there who could have done a way better job. We've seen kid actors today do a way better job than this kid did, and that kind of brought it down for me. Another thing I don't like about The Phantom Menace is the overuse of CGI and special effects. What's great about the original trilogy was the practical effects that they did use. You know, small sets with small explosions getting blown up to look like it's a big Star Destroyer out in space, or the Death Star out in space, was really just a miniature on a set getting blown up, and it looked amazing because it was overly realistic. The prequels, and especially The Phantom Menace, is an abuse of CGI, and the CGI doesn't hold up today. We were watching it, the special edition version on Blu-ray, and the CGI does not hold up at all. It looks like a mid-2000s video game. And that really took me out of the film, whereas I've watched the original trilogy on this special edition in Blu-ray, and those practical effects still kind of hold up. And that's what I love about the original trilogy of Star Wars. The story for The Phantom Menace is quite boring as well, because a lot of it takes place in the Senate, and they're talking about the Trade Federation agreements, which is not what Star Wars is about. You know, ultimately this prequel trilogy is about Obi-Wan and Anakin, and following their story, yet they spend not much of the film together, and I get that Qui-Gon Jinn was the one who wanted to bring up Anakin, and unfortunately, we're going to do spoilers here because Phantom Menace has been out for 14 years. When Qui-Gon Jinn dies and Obi-Wan says that he will take on Anakin for him, that's the start of their friendship, I get that, but they didn't even focus on Qui-Gon Jinn and Anakin wanting to work together, and that kind of really annoyed me, because there's so much talk about, you know, how the Senate is trying to convince Queen Amidala to sign the peace treaty and things like that, and it's boring because it's ultimately like watching Parliament on ABC. You don't want to watch that when you're watching Star Wars. You want an exciting story with really well built characters. If they had built up the characters a lot more and not just thrown us into this really dastardly situation, much like they did with the first Star Wars film, where we get to learn about these characters and the situation they're in, I feel like it would have been a much more enjoyable film. One other thing I think that would have made this a much more enjoyable film is get rid of Jar Jar. I have read this Darth Jar Jar theory, and if you haven't, just Google Darth Jar Jar theory and read it. It's great. I might actually do a video on it. I don't like his character. He's really annoying. Like, we were cringing, me and my mates, watching it last night, and he's just such a disgusting character to watch. He's so whiny and complaining. He's almost like young Anakin, and it's just, it doesn't make for an enjoyable experience if you're sitting there going, oh, he's gone, oh, Misa, and like, oh, shut the fuck up, Jar Jar, please. Overall, I didn't hate The Phantom Menace. I don't think it's a great movie, but I definitely didn't hate it as much as I hate the next review I'm going to bring tomorrow, which is Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Guys, that's my honest take on The Phantom Menace. Thank you so much for watching. There's 11 more videos coming over the next 11 days to do with Star Wars. And on the 12th day of Star Wars will be the 17th, when I will bring you my full review of Star Wars Episode 7's The Force Awakens. I have planned my night. The midnight releases like crazy. I'm seeing a midnight session and then a 3 o'clock AM session, unless the movie really sucks, then I probably won't see the 3 o'clock, but I highly doubt it because these trailers have got me so excited. I'm freaking out. I brought my tickets like 10 minutes after they were released in Australia. I'm just so ready for this movie, guys. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and in the meantime, go watch Star Wars sometime.